Holy mackerel, it's been a great weekend so far. It really has. And so far, this has been a good morning. I never would have imagined that when I woke up this morning, I would have to make another video talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet again. I never could have imagined that. I thought I was done talking about this game and how terrible it was. But no, once again, Nintendo continues to double down and try to work on this broken game, but in reality, the game should have been fixed at launch, and Nintendo is adding DLC for this broken travesty for this game. Now, you're probably sitting here wondering, well, Nightwing, hold on a second. You're talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, right, Nightwing? You mean one of the worst Pokemon games of all time? You mean one of the most broken games at release that's just as bad as the Cyberpunk situation? You mean that game that it's still extremely painful and barely a lot of people play anymore? You mean that? Yeah, the same Pokemon game that is still extremely mediocre and the Pokemon game that's still extremely painful that pretty much became unplayable at release, and it's the same game that pretty much just broke a lot of trust with the Pokemon fans, and it's the same game that pretty much ruined a lot of Pokemon fans' experience, and pretty much people are just done with Pokemon. Yeah, that game. And guess what? You're never gonna believe this. They're charging $35 for their brand new DLC coming out. I am not joking. Like, this is a mess. And you thought that when this game released, you thought this game was done? Oh, no, no, no. They're just getting started with this busted DLC. Holy mackerel. I never could have imagined that this game would get DLC. At this point, I'm just baffled and I'm laughing here. Not with Nintendo, but I'm laughing at Nintendo. They think they have the right to charge $35 for a broken game that's DLC worthy. Now, keep in mind, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, let me rephrase what I'm saying. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is going to be charged $35 for DLC, and Nintendo thinks they have the right to charge $60 full price to scam people out of this broken game. But in reality, the sad truth is nobody really plays this game anymore. Now, I do have an article explaining a little bit about this DLC from Kotaku. So I'm going to pull up the article for you guys. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on it as we go along. Now, keep in mind, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is still in a buggy, broken state, even though it has received patches. But the sad truth is, nobody really cares about these patches anymore because their experience was already ruined the first time with this game. So, I'm going to pull up the article and I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to explain my thoughts and concerns as we go along. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are getting paid DLC, and the first wave of the upcoming expansion is coming in fall 2023, called The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero. The new adventure is separated into two parts and will take players beyond the existing Paldea region, as well as letting them encounter new Pokemon. Part 1, The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero, is called the Teal Mask and will arrive first, taking players on a school field trip to the land of Kadami? I don't know how to pronounce that. A mountain region with a village at the base. Part 2, called the Indignigo Disc, slated to arrive sometime before the end of 2023's winter and see players visit their sister school, Blueberry Academy, through split into two parts. Both stories will link up into one continuous narrative. Okay, so before I get on with my rant, I do want to give the game some positives, okay? Because there is some genuine good stuff here. Like, the game is open world. I mean, the game is gonna be giving us new DLC to explore a new world. But in reality, the sad truth is no one's really gonna stick around to play this DLC that I think we all can agree it's just gonna end up being broken. And now that they're trying to expand on this game, but I think we all know how this is gonna go along. They're gonna release the DLC, it's gonna end up broken, and now the sad truth is people are gonna probably jump to the conclusion, but they're gonna realize, oh wait, this DLC might end up being broken. And they're gonna probably wonder, yeah, but do you guys remember what happened with the game at launch? But honestly, I think we can all agree, like, anybody with a brain can see how this is gonna end up. Like, we know if the base game is gonna be broken, why would you release DLC for a broken video game? Don't you think, like, back in the Cyberpunk situation, you think you would cancel all your DLC plans first before considering working on them? You think you would have to cancel your DLC plans and work on fixing the game? Back when Cyberpunk released, and I'm going to keep using this example because it's a prime example of the gaming industry now, the game was hyped up so much, and when the game released, it was so bad on consoles. Sony has straight up removed it from the PlayStation digital stores for 6 months until CD Projekt Red fixed the game into a more acceptable state till it's like, okay, now it's good to put back on the store. Like, come on now. I think that, like I said before, I think that anybody with a brain can see the problems that this game is gonna have. I mean, come on now. But anyway, let's go back to the article. In addition to taking players to new locations, the Hidden Treasure DLC will also feature new legendaries and returning favorites. Orgapon, I don't know how to pronounce that, will be the Teal Mask legendary, with the new Pokemon Okidoji, Mukidori, and Fedez Dipati. I can't pronounce these. I'm sorry, you guys. Also appearing alongside heights of the likes of the Chingling, Shifty, Meowtic, Ninetales, and Vivek Ult. Again, I can't pronounce that. The Ind- Indigo disc? Oh my god, I can't pronounce things for the life of me right now. I am so tired. I apologize, you guys. Meanwhile, we'll feature legendary Terrapogs alongside returning Pokemon Duwong, Metagross, Alcremie, Esper, Zebitska, and Wimelscott. Again, I can't pronounce this stuff. I am so tired. I apologize in advance. Elsewhere, during the presentation of the Pokemon Company revealed that Pokemon Home will still be linked to Scarlet and Violet together. This combined with the DLC will apparently introduce over 230 Pokemon to the game that weren't previously available to catch or battle with. Once again, on paper, this stuff does sound cool that we'll get to catch new Pokemon in a new DLC area, but in reality, none of that matters and nobody cares about playing this game if the base game is broken and a buggy ass mess still. Nobody's gonna really care about playing this game if the game is pretty much unplayable. Nobody's gonna really stick around and really play this game and be interested in the DLC if the game is still in a buggy state and still in a messy state where no one's gonna really stick around that long. I mean, let's be real for a second. Back when Fallout 76 released, that game was so bad, and they announced, oh, a subscription service to play that dog crap game with more DLC. In reality, no pun intended, but Fallout 76 is still a wasteland of a video game. No one has been to that game in like God knows how long. Nobody remembers what that game is even about anymore, I bet. Next time when you ask someone, "Hey, do you ever heard of Fallout 76?" Wait, what game? What's that? You mean that forgettable game that nobody likes? Yeah, I think it's safe to say that people are gonna be doing the same thing with Scarlet and Violet. Like, wait, what's Scarlet and Violet? Oh, wait, you mean that terrible game that nobody really plays? You mean that buggy ass game? Yeah, I feel like that's just going to be the impression that people are going to get now. But I digress. Let's go back to the article. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have already received quite a few updates aimed at addressing their predicted or unprecedented number of bugs and performance issues, while an initial post-launch divided fans on how much actually fixed the game. Another update in February tried to improve things by spawning fewer Pokemon in the open world environment. One downside of the change was that the shiny Pokemon, most sought after rare creature variants in the game, were less likely to spawn as well. Game Freak has been on a tear recently, shipping one Pokemon game after another. Between Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes back in fall of 2021, and the Pokemon Legends Arceus spin-off, both which preceded as current Gen 9 games by a year or less. It is unclear if the studio will keep that pace up, launching another game later in 2023, or if it will let Scarlet and Violet paid expansions fill that gap. Many fans have hoped to see Game Freak take some extra time between entities to improve the overall quality of the experiment more than with the undying or underlying formula. I mean, if Nintendo just gave Game Freak more time and they let them delay Scarlet and Violet, none of this would have happened if they just delayed the game. Game developers have a right to delay video games, you know. They have a right to do that. And here's a good example, and I'm going to sound crazy and stupid for this, but back in one of my previous videos, I talked about Nintendo's recent Direct and how awesome it was, because this is something we really needed right now. And they re-announced that Advanced Wars Reboot Camp is coming out of it, what was it called? Well, delayed indefinitely, like Purgatory, whatever it's called, the Void. Nintendo re-announced the game at its one of its directs, and that game is starting to come hum, which I am still convinced that Advance Wars is canceled from development. I'm in complete denial, and I'm gonna continue to be in denial until otherwise. But I still thought it was pretty cool, and the fact that we got Metroid Prime Remastered, I thought it was awesome. But here's the thing: if the game needed to be delayed because of certain world events, or the game needed to be delayed because of technical issues with the game, then developers have a right to do that. At this point, I learned my lesson from the Cyberpunk situation. If the developers need more time, that's fine. But it depends just how much they're willing to go with these delays. With Cyberpunk, that should have been a red flag. Like, okay, this game has got delayed way too many times. Something is seriously wrong. And honestly, I'm on the same boat with Advance Wars. Like, if this game gets delayed again, something seriously is going to be wrong with this game. And honestly, I just wish that they delayed Scarlet and Violet. But if they need more time with the game, just delay it by like a whole year if you have to, or by a few months if you needed more time. But right now, Nintendo kind of didn't want that. They wanted them to rush the game out as soon as possible, and they wanted them to make money as soon as possible, and not giving Game Freak the proper time for it. So that's kind of one of the reasons why no one really plays Scarlet and Violet anymore. Just because the game came out in a buggy state, and the game really, still to this day, doesn't really have what what the fans wanted. The game still is in kind of a bad state, if you really think about it. And all this could have been avoided if Nintendo just let Game Freak delay the game. And at this point, man, this is all Nintendo's fault that this is happening. And that's a damn shame. And I'm going to get a lot of heat from the Pokemon community for this, but unlike Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, at least Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Legends Arceus are actually playable games. At least they are actually playable games, and at least they're actually enjoyable to play. And I'm going through Pokemon Legends Arceus on my second playthrough, and I'm still having such a blast playing that game. And I think I'm on my, I think, fourth playthrough of Sword and Shield now, and I'm having such a blast playing that game. But yeah, Scarlet and Violet, I'm just at this point I'm not convinced that it's gonna be good when it comes out the DLC comes out. I know that there are some people out there that are really loyal to this game, and I think that's awesome. If you can find some enjoyment to this game, and that's great, I'm happy for you that you can get some enjoyment in this game. So, if you can get some enjoyment in this game and you're watching this video, I want you to do me a favor and I want you to have a genuine good time with this game. I really mean that. And I'm not joking when I say that, but I always mean that when I say it. If people are having a good time with the game, I want them to have a good time with it. If they can find an enjoyment in a video game, that's great. Have a good time with the game. But me personally, I'm not going to waste my time playing this game anymore because my experience was already ruined the first time because of Nintendo's and Game Freak's indecisive choices that they made by just releasing the game unfinished. So, honestly, at this point, man, I have no hope for Scarlet and Violet DLCs being good. And I think we can all agree how it's going to end up. I think we know how it's going to come out. It's going to come out buggy and broken, just as bad as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did when they first released, and the DLC is probably going to end up the same way. And I have a good feeling that it's going to be Nintendo's going to be the laughing stock once again. And I don't want that happening, but it looks like that's the direction we're going in. So, yeah, all I'm going to say is this DLC for Scarlet and Violet, it better be what fans want, or else no one's going to bother with any more Pokemon games going forward. Personally, I'm after Scarlet and Violet, I'm done with pretty much newer Pokemon games. I'm going back to the older titles just to get a Pokemon experience again. So I guess it's back to Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Legends Arceus for me. So with that being said, thank you guys all for listening. Let me know what you all think down below. And until next time, you guys, I'm not playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, and I'm going back to the older titles, and I'll see you all later.